Have you ever wondered why your wife feels emotionally distant, even when you're sitting right next to her? You come home, you sit beside her, you eat the same dinner, sleep in the same bed, and still, she feels completely alone. How is this even possible? Emotional presence isn't about being in the room. It's about being in the moment. It's about being with her, not just near her. And here's the heavy truth no one ever told us. Our wives can feel more alone beside us than she ever did without us. This episode isn't about guilt. It's about growth. And today, we're going to unpack 5 reasons she feels disconnected, what to do about it, and how you can reconnect before the damage becomes permanent. Let's start with the quiet habit that slowly pushes her away without you even realizing it. I have a friend named Bill who's been married now for about 10 years. He thought things were fine in his marriage. The bills were paid, the house was clean, no yelling, but one night, his wife looked at him and said, "You haven't asked how I really feel in months." That shattered him because she was right. Many husbands stop asking questions over time, not because they don't care, but because they assume. They assume things are stable if there's no conflict. But let me tell you this, silence isn't peace. It could be distance. Your wife wants to be seen, not just lived with. She wants you to notice her mind, her emotions, everything that's important to her. She doesn't want to have to beg you for connection. If you don't notice her heart, she's going to stop showing it to you. I want you to think of your wife like a garden. If you stop checking in, the weeds of distance grow fast, even if the flowers are still there. Ask yourself, when was the last time you asked your wife how she's really doing emotionally, not physically or logistically? If you can't remember, it's time to start again. Now let's go deeper, because the next point is the one that hurts the most. It's where emotional absence turns into emotional injury. One night, Bill's wife opened up about how overwhelmed she felt with the kids. He replied, "You're overthinking it." In his mind, he was trying to calm her down, but in her heart, she heard, "You're not allowed to feel how you feel." You may think you're helping by minimizing her stress, but what you're actually doing is minimizing her experience. Emotional dismissal doesn't always sound loud. It sounds something like this. "You're just tired? Oh, it's not that bad. Why are you being so sensitive?" But here's the truth. She's not looking for a fix. She's looking for someone to connect with her. I've discovered this in marriage. If our wives feel unheard, they will stop speaking. I want you to think of your wife's emotions like a bridge. If you dismiss them, you're knocking out the supports until eventually it collapses. The next time she opens up, I want you to try this. I want you to say only this. "That sounds really heavy. I didn't realize you were carrying that. I just want you to know I am here. I will always be here for you." Then be quiet. Let her talk. Let her breathe. Now let's talk about your habits, because sometimes your silence is the loudest message in the house. Bill came from a home where men didn't talk about feelings. So when his wife cried, he just went quiet. But his silence made her feel unloved, unseen, and emotionally rejected. A lot of men were taught that silence equals strength, but in marriage, silence often equals distance. If you don't say how you feel, she assumes the worst. You might be struggling too. You might be trying to hold it all together. But if you never say, "This is hard for me too," she feels like she's suffering alone. She doesn't need a speech. She simply needs your truth. A closed curtain blocks the light, even if the sun is still shining behind it. I want you to write this in your journal. And if you don't have one, get the "I Will Be My Best Today" journal. What have I been feeling lately, but not saying out loud? If it matters to you, it matters to your marriage. Now, let's shift from emotional silence to spiritual silence, because when you disconnect from God, your marriage feels the absence. Bill hadn't prayed in weeks. He was tired, overwhelmed. But when his wife asked if they could start praying together, he shrugged it off. She didn't say much, but she felt alone in the one place she needed partnership the most, in faith. A man does not need to preach or perform. He just needs to invite God into the marriage. When a wife sees her husband pursue spiritual growth, it softens her heart. It reminds her she's not the only one holding the family together. You don't have to be perfect as a husband. However, you have to be anchor. When you show up spiritually, you create emotional safety. Think of your marriage like a house. Without spiritual presence, the roof is going to leak, even if the walls still look strong. Let's finish with the real reason your presence matters more than performance, especially during her most vulnerable moments. One day, when Bill's wife was hurting, instead of offering solutions, he held her hand and simply said, "I know this hurts." For the first time in years, his wife leaned in. Presence isn't about knowing what to say. It's about choosing to stay. It's not about taking the pain away. It's about not letting her carry it alone. She's never going to forget the moment you stayed present when she broke down. I want you to think of her emotions like a storm. She doesn't need you to stop the rain. Just hold the umbrella and stay with her in it. So let's bring all this together, because knowing how to be emotionally present is one of the greatest forms of love. If you've ever watched a woman you love grow quiet in your presence, you know that silence can scream louder than words. And sometimes it's not about what you're doing wrong. It's about what you're not noticing. Her distance isn't always defiance. Her silence isn't always solved with logic. Sometimes it's her soul asking if you can still hear it. That's why everything we've covered in this episode matters. We talked about how emotional neglect doesn't look like anger or violence. It looks like forgetfulness, disconnection, a man being there but not really there. We unpacked how your wife doesn't need you to fix everything. She needs you to feel what she's feeling. And we also explored how being emotionally present is a skill you can grow, not a trait you either have or don't. It starts by seeing her again. Really seeing her. If you're ready to stop guessing and start growing as a husband, I want to personally invite you to use the I Will Be My Best Today journal. Again, the link is in the description. It's not just paper. It's where man builds presence, clarity, and self-respect, one day at a time. And if you're serious about making your marriage stronger, your mindset sharper, and your presence more powerful, check out the merch at iwillbemybesttoday.com. What you wear should reflect who you're becoming. And always remember, you can always be better than yesterday, because it's not about being perfect. It's about improving as a husband so your wife gets the man that she really wants to have in her life. Because when you grow, she feels it. Subscribe if this message hit home. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And let me know in the comments what you're working on in your relationship right now.